Finance Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Member Downs?
Here.
Member Bollier?
Here.
Member Bellows? Member Kamiri?
Present.
Member Cusimano?
Here.
Member Harrington? Here. Member McGowan?
Present.
Item C, for motion to approve the minutes for the December 5th, 2024 finance.
Motion to accept. Second.
Motion by Mr. Bollier, second by Mr. Cusimano. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Item D is general business administration. So we'll start with item 1 is new hires and resignations. There's no resignations. Make
Motion to nominate Yvette Colsick.
accounting and grants manager.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cusimano. Discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Already moving on to the December TLC committee follow-up. I'll turn that over to the superintendent.
Thank you, and I have Dr. Bryan with that information.
Hi, so there were a couple of items at the last CLSS meeting that required a little bit more information. The first was a little bit more about the Small Wonders program expansion at the CTE. One question was about the hours, so just confirming that the hours will be from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. The ratio does need to be one staff member per 8 students, so in order for that to be able to happen, we would be looking at expanding the staff to 1 additional paraprofessional for 40 hours. The range for that salary is between $41,942 to $57,408.80. And this would allow for, with the addition also of a current CTE's teacher. So between 2 teachers and 1 paraprofessional, there would be 2 staff members in the room at all time with students between 7 a.m. and 2:30. And then the idea would be to employ our students in the program to finish up that end of the day period. The preference for students will be currently enrolled students as well as school employees, children of school employees. So I believe those were the questions that weren't quite answered in the last meeting. I just wanted to make sure to share that. Any questions about that?
Yeah.
Does that mean do we need a motion to
Well,
approve the 40-hour
there's-
paraprofessional?
There's a couple of classes that needed to go to finance. I'm not sure if that was
These are
one.
the 2. if I may.
These are the 2? Okay, go ahead.
These are the 2 that they wanted more, first to know if the staff are being provided preference for their children. And the second is, even if we broke even and did not make any revenue from the program, we wanted to make sure that there's always 2 people between the hours of 7 and 4. We made that happen. So we won't have much revenue, it'll be more of a break even, but we'll be,
Do we have the dollar amount for that one?
Yeah, she did.
We did? Okay, what was it?
For the cost for the paraprofessional?
Yeah.
Between $41,942 and $57,408.
but it's a wash.
Salary and benefits?
Yes, yeah.
It's a wash though.
Right. So yeah, we do need a motion to accept that class. Mr. Cusimano.
So, but we're keeping, I know we wanted to keep it as cheap or cost neutral, but we're keeping a buffer just because of the salary range, correct?
So when you say buffer, do you mean as far as revenue?
Yes, because the revenue that was presented during that was huge. We wanted to reduce it down, but we also don't want it to cost us.
It's not costing us anything, but we're not making much revenue. Because
That's
we're almost
fine,
breaking even.
that's not worth, I just wanted to make sure we have a little buffer because the salaries do
Oh,
increase.
yes. So, if I remember correctly, it was around 26,000 of the revenue that we were receiving because we need a full-time
Yep.
paraprofessional. That now breaks it even.
Okay, that's all I was making sure. I'll make a motion to, what was the dollar amount again? 41.
41,9 to 57,108, was it?
49 to 57.
57,408.80.
57,408. 41,9 to 57,408.
So just a motion to,
Up to 57.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to approve the program.
Yeah, approve the program
I'll make a
as
motion to approve the program as it was given, presented this evening.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Cusumano, second by Ms. Harrington. Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next one is the MS Health Occupations First Responder Unified Arts class. I know there was a lot of discussion on this one, and we wanted a more concrete dollar amount because there was concern about how much they were requesting because the items here that they need for that class are rather expensive.
Yeah, so I have the breakdown. The actual cost for the first year is $4,899 for supplies. So what that covers is, that's not counting the educator. That's supplies and materials, including $1,099 for the starter kit for first aid, CPR, AED instructor through the American Red Cross. $1,500 first responders CPR, AED packs, and additional first aid supplies such as latex gloves, antiseptic wipes, etc. And then $1,500 for workbooks, printed materials, and software, again through the American Red Cross. So that, the certification piece, we're looking at adding student certifications in the future for CPR and first aid. So the teacher would need professional development in the amount of $100 for that certification, as well as an additional $700, I know I'm going fast so I can go through this again, for workshops that integrate healthcare and STEM concepts. So that's the $4,899.
And just to update the members that went, this is at the middle school. Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the middle school health occupations first responders unified arts class as presented.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Harrington, second by Mr. Cameri. Discussion is,
My only question is, does this have to go back to TLSS to be accepted?
It did.
they approved it, but they wanted us to have more information before we approved it, when it came to the finance side.
Okay,
It goes to the full board though, it still goes.
okay.
Mr. Guzman.
I'm fully in support of this now that they came back with all the numbers. I would actually, if this committee or the finance chair would permit, raise it to 6,000. For the fact is that I think they're gonna need a little bit more materials, and now all the kids will get this course and they'll be able to do CPR if somebody's not readily available. I don't want them to be limited and have to come back because they're $100 short, they didn't have an extra dummy. I think it's a great safety tool, not just at our kids at the schools or at RMS, but at home too. So I'd rather them return funds than us limit them to $4,899. I'd like to give them a little bit more if that's all right with the chair.
Right now, the motion on the table is presented. I think this board, I think we're all really in high support of this class. And I think if they came back and they said they needed more money, I'm sure we would be like, well, $2,000 for the budget our size. It's just, I'm not sure if anyone would want to move the vote. I think we just go. And I think that we would, in full support, you know what, this is our first year, we needed this much, can we come back, and I'm sure we would be in full support. Any more discussion? All in favor, somebody say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, the next item is review and approve the following positions of the academic evaluator. Any discussion on that? I know we had discussions at the previous meeting. It's seeing none.
Sorry, funding for this? Funding
This is,
for what?
this is cost control. So these are, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
These are 2 special education teachers that are unfilled. So we are going to repurpose them for 2 academic evaluators because we cannot find special education teachers.
Any more discussion on that? I'll make a motion to approve that one.
Make a motion to approve the academic evaluator.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boyer, second by Mr. Cusumano. Any more discussion on that?
Just not, it's two.
Yes, it's two,
academic
yes.
evaluators.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next one is the special education administrative assistant. Mr. Boyer.
Minority, another question?
Yeah. So these are two unfilled para-educators. Right now, our special education teachers handle all of the clerical work. And as we know, they're stretched thin because of the shortage of special education teachers. So we're looking at repurposing two unfilled para-educators to take this off of their plate so they're able to do direct instruction with their children. Again, cost control.
And how many positions?
Two.
I know you got two removed, just want to make sure.
Mr. Kusumano.
And I'm just going to ask, like I asked during that meeting, you still have plenty of pairs, more than you would need foreseen if we were to have a spike all of a sudden of children that needs assistance.
Yes, I believe the number I said last time,
It was 14, you had
I was
left over.
14, yes.
I just wanted to get that on this committee.
What was the motion on the table?
Make a motion for the two special education administrative assistant positions, which will eliminate two pair.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Boyer, second by Mr. Kusumano. And these were part-time, 27, or are these full-time, 30?
Pairs.
I don't remember. It's whatever is unfilled.
Okay.
Actually, I think it's 27 now.
27.
Yes, it is 27.
Okay. All right, all those in favor, submit by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is the culture and climate specialist.
If I may. So these positions were approved by TLSS. These will be fully grant funded. We are looking to have one for each of the schools. However, the high school already has their safety team, which is functioning in the same manner. And they will be all, we can fund them through Title I, Title II, or Title IV. And just to give you an idea of what our grants are looking like, for next year, they will be around $2.5 million for those 3 grants. We are intending to carry over $500,000 of our grants over to next year, so we'll have a full $3 million. And I do have a breakdown of what that will cost, if you'd like to know that as well.
Mr. Herring.
Is it assuming they're already coming in CPI certified? Or is the grant dollars going to be used to cover their certification for CPI?
Yeah, for the verbal de-escalation, they will,
And physical?
yes, and we have an in-house trainer that will do that.
And they're on the parent contract?
Yes, and so it's what I put in there is the para-educator chapter, because it could be, they have the secretary or the para-educator.
And the total number would be?
The total number, so I went on the high end, right, if they had years of experience, I went high with, salary would be 30,000, benefits would be, the total of with benefits and salary, 44,000. And we're talking, one position for each of the elementary schools. For middle school, we would need 3, for a total of a little under 400,000 for all 9 positions. And again, we would have $3 million in grant funds for next year that have not been earmarked for anything.
In their hours, if they're there for the full school day?
Their hours would be 30 hours, so it would be for the full school day, no longer 27 and a half. Yes. And actually, Dr. Bryan, I believe they're actually 35 hours, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I think,
Full time after school?
yeah, I think that's what we read for like parking lot.
Exactly.
For,
Events?
Yeah. that was in, I think that was, I read that somewhere. Mr. Kusumano.
And that's grant money we have on hand now, not grant money we're projected that might come in.
So we have $500,000 that we'll be carrying over, so we'll be using $500,000. But we also are projected to receive their entitlement funds, so we're entitled to them. And I'm projecting $2,500,000. We received this year a little under $2,700,000, so I'm budgeting $2,500,000.
Mrs. Herring.
Will these always be grant funded, or is the idea to roll them into the operating budget?
Great question. I want to pilot them to see the impact of them, and then we'll take a percentage each year to embed them into the general budget.
I'll make a motion to approve, move to the full board this culture and finance specialist, 9 positions.
Motion by Ms. Harrington,
Second.
second by Mr. Boyer. Any more discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We'll move on to the instructional coach.
Okay, so our instructional coaches, we are also looking at a total of at least 5. So the intent is to have 3 for the 6 elementary schools. We want 1 for the high school, 1 for the middle school. Ideally, I have spoken to the principals, well, specifically our high school principal, and they are looking for a humanities instructional coach because as we know, the subjects are taught a little bit differently than in the elementary school, where the general education teacher in elementary has all 4 subject matters. So a humanities instructional coach and a STEM instructional coach. So if we were to go with 7 instructional coaches, and again, I'm using the higher end of the pay range with benefits, we're talking about for each one with benefits, $105,000 for a total of $735,000 for the 7. And just to give you some idea, the 3 positions, once I get to the next one, is still well under $2 million, and I had mentioned that we'll have $3 million next year. So we'll have well over $1 million left over in the grants.
Any questions for the superintendent on this one?
They have 1 year grants, correct?
Say it again?
They're
one-year
all the
grants.
entitlement grants are 1 year at a time.
1 year at a time. We're entitled to them, so we're secured to
So we're
have them.
hiring these people based on 1 year.
Well, entitlement grants, we receive every year. We're
I
entitled to
understand
them.
that,
Yes.
but if we have to start cutting positions, these positions go first. If we lose the grant funding, we lose these positions, or we have to absorb them into the.
Correct. But any position is a 1-year contract anyways, for any, yeah.
Just,
But that's a good point, yes, yes, yes.
Ms. Harrington.
So they're not under teacher contract, they're not under admin contract. Are we looking to fill these positions with internal staff or external people?
We're going to open it up for internal or external. They don't meet the criteria for admin because they're not really an administrator.
They're not
How-
evaluating anybody.
Exactly, they're not evaluating anyone, however, they are a bit above teachers in the sense that they are coaching and mentoring the teachers because of their expertise, and they are part of the instructional leadership team at the school level. And I have spoken to the union about this.
And, okay.
So they would be evaluated by the principal of the
Yes.
building? Okay. And how many of these, this was,
7, so
Oh,
we
okay.
we're talking 3 to be shared for the elementary schools, the 6 elementary schools. And then we would need, because again, we have science teachers and math teachers in the middle school and the high school, we need a STEM instructional coach and a humanities instructional coach in each of the larger schools, middle school and high school.
so I know there's a lot of concerns, but I know we talked about it at the last meeting, and we know where our numbers are with our reading and math, and I think these positions are supposed to help that, start improving it. And so I think that's one thing we gotta remember, we saw everything, where we're at as a district, and we need to start making changes and improvements. I think these are the improvements and the changes that we need to move forward with. Ms. Harrington?
What does ILT member?
Instructional leadership team.
And then my other question is, I guess, what benefits are they gonna have? What securities will they have if they're not under a contract? What would entice them to leave their current position that they have to go into this role?
We fill positions, if I may, Mr. Chair, we fill positions all the time with grant funded, and we're very upfront about it that it's a grant funded position, and they're pretty easily filled.
Any more discussion on that one? Anyone wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion for the instructional coaches as presented.
Motion by Mr. Cusimano,
Second.
Second by Ms. McGowan. Is there any more discussion on it? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
No.
How many nays?
3.
Carried 3-3.
Did you make the motion, Mr. Cusano?
Yes, but I can still nay it.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's only in a contract. So in the event of a tie.
Yeah.
Fails.
It
it
fails.
fails.
Okay. Job failed for now. All right, next item is the wellness instructor.
So the wellness instructor, we had mentioned about having a dedicated wellness space for children who are dysregulated in the classroom. Having them removed from the classroom and provided some coping strategies so that they can help self-regulate and be more self-aware as when they do become escalated in the classroom, how they can regulate themselves. These wellness spaces would help the current teachers in the classroom continue their instruction while this child who is dysregulated would get what they need in a different space. And so our intention is to have, our schools will have these wellness spaces, and then we'll have our wellness instructors in each of the spaces. We're looking to have one in each of our schools. And so we're looking at, except for Maple Street, because there's no room. So it would be 5 of our elementary schools, middle school and high school, a 7. So we're looking at the total for each, and this is a union contract, so this would be a teacher. So we're looking for each teacher with benefits to be $85,373 for a total of $597,000 for 7 instructional teachers.
Mr. Boyd?
I know Teacher and Learning has reviewed this, but I'm gonna ask this question because I don't understand some of the positions, just based on my experience. What is the difference between this and a guidance counselor?
It can be either, actually. So the wellness instructor can be like a health teacher, can be someone, could be even just an educator who has expertise in social emotional competencies.
Yeah.
And so that, or it could also be a guidance counselor, but they fall under the same contract, so the money would be the same.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Herring?
Does
Oh,
Steve have a
sorry.
question?
Yeah, I he might have. Mr. Cusano?
So do we need more guidance counselors?
We need someone specifically with the expertise of helping children become more self-aware when they feel they are becoming escalated. So they themselves can manage independently their behavior. And so this person would be housed in the wellness space.
This is Harrington.
One question, for qualifications, I know CPI isn't here, restorative practices is listed, but would it be beneficial for them to also be CPI trained?
That can be,
So
that
we
can
can-
definitely,
And especially if they're trained in-house?
yes.
And my second thing is, I would like to make a motion to approve the 7 wellness instructors.
Motion by Ms. Harrington,
Second.
second by Mr. Boyd. Second. Go ahead.
I don't know if we can ask for CPI to be added, because that was the job description by Teacher and Learning, we're just talking about fund. Technically.
I can take it to the full board.
We can take it to the full board.
There, I just wanna make sure procedurally. I mean, it's a good point, just procedurally.
I think we all know with behaviors, and especially down at the elementary school, I think this position is really gonna help mitigate that and be able to keep the teachers focused on the kids that are in the class, and this position will be able to handle those kids too. Because obviously I've been advocating for that for, I don't know how long, about making sure the kids that are trying to learn are still being, why that teacher can stay in there. So I think this is really important for our building. Alrighty, any more discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item is finance report.
Oh, me.
Yes. You're up. Good turn.
As you can see, I included some commentary that I would usually dictate to you at these meetings. I kind of wanted to just go over a little bit of the high-level revenue and expenses, just to give the viewers a little bit of an understanding of where we're at. We are currently halfway through, 50% into FY '25, and revenues and expenses are proportionately in line. A couple of things on the revenue side that I wanted to highlight is we've received 44% of our budgeted revenue, or $32.8 million. I anticipate receiving the other half of our property taxes and our state education funding from the city by the end of January. That will kind of give us a little bit better understanding of where we are as far as revenue is concerned, because that's where the majority of the revenue comes from. Since posting my commentary, we did receive payment from Wakefield School District for $1 million for students that are attending Rochester schools. So while you won't see that reflected on your financials, it was received today. Any questions on the revenue from any of the commentary? Yeah?
Mr.
So just with the delay of the property tax bills being sent out, they're not due until the end of January. Does that affect us receiving?
I was told by the Director of Finance at the city that we would receive that person before the end of January.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? A little bit, some highlights from the expenses. We have spent and encumbered 56% of our budgeted expenses, or $42.2 million. Point of note, salaries and benefits remain underspent at 47%, or $25.2 million year-to-date. This leaves us an additional $28.8 million to be used for the remainder of the fiscal year. This is where some of our opportunities for some other projects towards the end of the year, that will give us some of our better, you can see from the vacancy savings that I present to you later on. Non-salary, I did want to point out regular instruction, other professional education services, special education instruction, the purchase of educational services, and special education instruction, tuition to private and other schools. That's when we're sending our scholars out to other schools, are expected to, well, they have exceeded budget. We've actually already transferred funds from other salary expense in the special education area to cover these expenses. They were certainly obviously difficult to budget and forecast for, because the number of scholars and their needs change from year to year. And we are offsetting these expenses with the savings that we're currently seeing at salary and benefits line in special education. So there have been some budget transfers that were done to cover this. We anticipate looking a little bit further at what other contracts we have coming up where we may need to make a couple more budget transfers. Any questions? Okay, that's it for the financial report. Anything? Sorry, the glass is on and off. I want to see you guys like not blurry, but then I want to see my papers too. Finance committee snapshot, sorry. Oh, okay, year-to-date financial snapshot. Any questions on the year-to-date financial snapshot? Again, this is just kind of just showing where we were last fiscal year in these areas and where we are this fiscal year in the areas. Again, they're pretty much consistent in percentage-wise where we are in the year versus where we were in the year last year. Good? Finance committee follow-up. At our last meeting, we had discussed that we were looking to renegotiate and start discussions on our lease for the SAU office and some of the other areas that we occupy here in the building here. David and I met with the city manager and the finance director on December 23rd to begin these discussions. We were discussing one-year leases in some cases. We told them what our intentions are with vacating some of the areas. And I'm waiting for a price per square foot to kind of present to you for the renegotiations, which obviously with the holidays, we don't have that information yet. Any questions on that? And then below that, just kind of so that I don't have to reiterate it every single month, I just gave you a chart that kind of shows when we typically receive the different sources of revenue that we are budgeting for. and a snapshot of what our FY '23 budget and actuals were, and what our FY '24 budget and actuals were, and then where we are as far as the FY '25 budget and where we are year to date. So if you feel like doing something one day and you want to say, oh, what revenue should we be seeing in December, you know, you can see which one you're going to see December. Any questions on that? And as discussed, you know, we are below on our salary and benefits budget for FY '25. I presented to you a list of open vacancies that we have. As you can see, we do indeed have a difficult time. Mr. Cusimano, we do have plenty of budgeted unfilled positions if the need were to arise from both the regular instruction and then also from the special education instruction. If all of these positions were not to be filled in the month of January, we would be seeing a $206,000 vacancy savings. Fiscal year to date, if we add up all of these potential savings, we're looking at roughly $750,000. Now, I want to caution you that this is what we're looking at as a savings, but it doesn't mean we haven't used it to offset other expenses thus far. Any questions with that?
Who's good?
Did someone have a question? Oh, I thought you were saying.
Sandy, you all set? Are you good? Okay.
Lastly, a bit of an update on the Juul settlement. I was informed right before Christmas break that the original amount that was reported to us by the city was gross and did not reflect the legal fees that would be deducted from our Juul settlement. The revised amount is now $3,558,226. We originally were expecting $4,380,558. So we're seeing a reduction of what we were expecting of roughly $830,000. We now expect to receive $380,000 in December of 2025 and $380,000 in December of 2026. That's $760,000. Adding that $760,000 to the $2.8 million we already received from Juul year-to-date, or life-to-date, and the $1.1 million that we already received from Altria, the total settlement award would be $4,635,638. And I have an updated P&L that I can share the next time that will reflect that. We may potentially see a little bit more because it's undetermined per the lawyer right now whether we receive any interest payment or bonuses on those two subsequent payments. So I'm just budgeting at the $380,000 right now, just to be safe. Questions on the Juul? I was disappointed for Christmas to get there. And the cabinet has been meeting. We actually just started a small list of things that we may consider doing in ABC priority with our surplus funds. We have some research to do on costs for this, but I do want you to know that there are currently 13 things on our items, 2 of which are still funding those educational services and the tuition to private schools for special education. So while that's not necessarily a project, it's definitely an A priority because we have no choice but to do that. So we have someone working on compiling that information to see really where do we think we're gonna land at the end of this year, so that I can build that into the budget and transfer the funds and see what else we really have to look for. But some of the other things,
Just make sure if it's any project or items that they are received before July 1st.
Yes. And I can make that presentation too next month. I would prefer, if you don't mind, to kind of see where our January revenue numbers come in. Hopefully the city, is posting that money, and then we can make a better assessment, because we could have budgeted and be short $200,000, and then that's, it's a damper in our
Yeah.
expectations.
I'd rather wait for that, yeah.
So,
Make
but
sure you
just
have
know that I
everything.
do have something, and Kevin
Perfect.
is working on it.
Once you get it all figured out, I don't have anything.
This is the fun part.
Anything else from the committee? None? And that wraps up, you good?
Yeah.
We'll move on to item E, public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to others. We do have one other. I'll make that a motion to approve from the operations committee, the Wicked Pool mechanical HVAC units at the amount of $31,750.
Second.
I made the motion, Ms. Harrington seconded it, move to the full board. Any more discussion on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. We have enough public? No non-public, so. motion to adjourn.
So just got one quick one.
Oh.
Are we gonna receive our projected budget digitally and by paper? I know we're getting it on the February, but are we gonna get it digitally and, or just on paper? It's just a binder. Okay, that's a little, just a quick question.
Yeah, so, just
We have to
to,
run the report.
so I gave the superintendent my binder, so that's what we're, if we.
Has it.
if
I
we
have yours,
can-
I have hers, I have his.
Yeah, okay. So we can make sure that's what we're familiar with, and just,
Yeah.
obviously, if you have to tweak it,
Yeah.
but we like to have it, and that.
I'm trying not to make many changes this this time around, just because your comfort level, and, I don't wanna change things up until a year into this. I wanna go through a whole year first, and then I'll make suggestions.
Oh, no, yeah.
We're gonna just keep it paper form, 'cause it's not an approved budget. No. Alrighty, any more discussion? Alright, so, who makes a motion to
I'll make
adjourn?
a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Harrington, second by Ms. Mary. All those in favor?
Aye.